The Supreme Court's decision, unfortunately, is not surprising because 3 of our court justices were chosen by one of the most, if not the most, racist president in American history, the former president, Donald Trump. He chose 3 of the Supreme Court justices. His slogan is to make America great again, take America back to a time when African Americans did not have the rights that we have fought for and died for throughout American history. Thank you very much, Representative Shurflis McCormick, and thank you for your leadership, and thank you for bringing together the CBC this evening to once again discuss racism in America. How long are we going to have this conversation? It seems like day after day, month after month, year after year, since 1619, we have had to have this conversation in some context. This Supreme Court has now become a Supreme Court that legislates as opposed to a Supreme Court that simply implements the pillars of our Constitution. The same Supreme Court that rolled back Roe v. Wade not too long ago, that is now making it easier to carry concealed weapons in Democrat-led states with strong gun laws like New York. The same Supreme Court that says it's okay to turn away LGBTQ customers if you do not want to do work for that particular demographic. This Supreme Court has gone rogue, and this Supreme Court has lost its legitimacy. Look at the reports. Members of the Supreme Court receiving gifts from billionaire donors over the course of their careers. Members of the Supreme Court allowing billionaire conservative donors to pay for their children's tuition as they attend private schools. This is unacceptable, this is unethical, and there are members of the Supreme Court who should immediately resign or be impeached because of taking these gifts from conservative billionaire donors. So these recent decisions, rolling back Roe v. Wade, and definitely one as it relates to affirmative action, are in alignment with MAGA Republicans and the extreme conservative Republicans in our country. And notice the hypocrisy, notice the disgusting decision to use the 14th Amendment, which was designed to protect the civil rights and citizenship of newly freed slaves. They used that argument to now take away rights from African Americans as it refers to entry into our most prestigious institutions. This decision is going to prohibit millions of African Americans across this country who are brilliant from receiving the same access and opportunity as their white peers. And I think all of that is captured in this chart behind me when we look at the issue of wealth inequality in America. Look at this chart, the median family wealth gap. The average white family median income is $171,000. When you compare that to the average black family, the median income in the average black family is $14,409. Average Hispanic family, $20,920. It's the consistent attack on black and Latino communities that contribute to this wealth gap. It's not just the affirmative action decision in terms of the higher education institutions of America. It's also as it relates to employment opportunities, to career opportunities, to private investment in Black and Latino businesses, to the federal budget and where our money is allocated towards right here in this body, the United States House of Representatives. It goes back to the issue of globalization and blue-collar jobs leaving Black and brown communities as part of a race to the bottom for profit based on low-cost labor in other countries. When those factory jobs left our country and left Black and Latino communities, nothing replaced those jobs. As a matter of fact, I've misspoken. Something did replace those jobs. Heroin, the numbers game, crack cocaine replaced those jobs. You know what else replaced those jobs? Law enforcement. So you take away access and opportunity from a jobs perspective, from an economic perspective, from a higher education perspective. And also, by the way, because of our support of redlining Black communities, the white middle class in the 1930s and 40s were able to buy homes, very low interest rates, very low costs, move to the suburbs, out of public housing, and build their wealth. You know who was forced to stay in public housing? African Americans and Latinos. And those communities were considered devalued, less valuable because of the race of the people who lived there. So this is historic. This is not just the enslavement of Africans, not just Jim Crow, not just the black laws, not just the Homestead Act. This is redlining. This is the Iran-Contra scandal and drugs in our community. And now in 2023, we continue to have these conversations because of the Supreme Court's recent decision. But I'm also here to say, we in the Congressional Black Caucus and we as African Americans across this country, these setbacks are only that. They are only setbacks. Each setback makes us stronger, makes us more powerful, makes us more united, and gives us a deeper sense of commitment and self-determination as we work to reclaim our Black sovereignty, not just here in America, but throughout the African diaspora, in the Caribbean, on the continent of Africa, and on Central and South America. We don't die, we multiply. And we will continue to multiply exponentially as we weather this storm, grow our enrollment in historically Black colleges. Shout out to HBCUs for doing the great work that they do. So that's going to grow. But we also are going to let our voices be heard as we vote with our feet and we go to the polls next year. Because we have to bring transformational change to the United States of America. We have to build a nation that works for everybody, and right now we do not have that nation. And I'll close with this. The Supreme Court has not only revealed its illegitimacy through receiving gifts from billionaire conservative donors. We have to look at complete Supreme Court reform as it relates to ethics reform, ending lifetime appointments, but also we need to look at the size of the Supreme Court. It's time to expand the court beyond the 9 members. This 9-member Supreme Court has been in place since 1869. America was 30 million people in 1869. It is now 330 million people, over 10 times the size. There are 7,000 cases presented to the Supreme Court every single year. They only hear 80 of them. They do not have the capacity to respond to the complexity and diversity and the nuance that is American society today. So it's time for democracy reform, and it begins with the Supreme Court. It also begins with the Electoral College. It also begins with ending the filibuster. And we change all that by voting the right people in the office and getting the wrong ones out of office. Thank you so much for your time, and I yield back.